Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. The show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, February 10th, 2019. This is episode 1565. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Capterra. Find the right software for your business with over 700,000 reviews of products from real software users. Visit capterra.com/techguy free to find the right tools to make 2019 the year for your business. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. You got your smartphones, you got your smartwatches, you got your augmented reality, your virtual reality, your reality. It's all on this show. As long as it's got a chip in it, I'll talk about it. Actually, in a little bit, we're going to talk with Sam Abuelsamid. He is our auto expert about autonomous vehicles. We talk, what else do we talk about? Photography. Chris Marquardt still is on his walkabout of New Zealand, but he sent back some great pictures on his Instagram feed, and I'm looking forward to getting him back on the show I think he'll be back in about 3 weeks. So that's, and of course you are the star of the show. Your calls, 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada, and I'd love to hear from you. Outside that area, it's still toll free, but you have to use Skype out or something like that. Our website is techguylabs.com, techguylabs.com, and that's the place to go if you have, heard something on the air and you said, "What is that? I want a link. I need a link." You don't have to write it down. Just go to techguylabs.com. It's free, no sign up or anything. Just slide right in there, and we would welcome you with open arms. German regulators just outlawed Facebook's entire ad business, writes Emily Dreyfus in Wired. That might be kind of a link-baity headline, to get you to read the article. Got me to read it, but it's not so far off. Facebook's ad model, relies on the idea that it knows a lot about you. And, it's got more than 2 billion users. That's a lot of people. And that's what they sell ads against. If you want a 62-year-old man in Northern California, well, we can sell it to you. So if you want one that we know likes whiskey but dislikes rum, we can sell it to you. Because Facebook knows all that, right? About you. Oh, and by the way, they've also got more than 1 billion users on WhatsApp and Instagram. So when you combine all that together, and that's what Facebook's planning to do, there's pretty much no one who an advertiser might want who can't, they can't sell an ad against. Facebook can sell an ad directly to you. And this is something that's a little concerning, and it showed up in some research done a couple of months ago by I wish I could remember the name of the reporter. I want to give her credit. Anyway, what they did is she created some accounts for people and put phone numbers in for them. And because Facebook was accused a little earlier of asking for your phone book when you sign up, your phone number rather. Have you ever done that when Facebook? Well, you need your phone number, or we need permission to send text so that we can send you for security. If somebody should steal your account, we could send you a recovery text. That seems like a good idea. It turns out they were using that in advertising. She verified it. Got actual targeted ads against those phone numbers, which is quite interesting. So they really can get granular. But that does seem a little bit like an invasion of privacy, and that's exactly what the German regulator, the Federal Cartel Office, ruled on Thursday. They said Facebook was exploiting you and me by requiring us to agree to data collection in order to have an account. But this is the key. They've said, and you've got to stop within 1 month. Facebook will no longer be allowed to force its users to agree to the practically unrestricted collection and assigning of non-Facebook data, Instagram and WhatsApp, to their Facebook user accounts. Facebook's response to Germany, we disagree. What a surprise. With their conclusions and intend to appeal. And this is, read between the lines on this one. So that people in Germany could continue to benefit fully from all our services. If you were to keep us from collecting this kind of data, we would be, unfortunately, sadly required to shut Facebook down in Germany. They'll have to, if the appeal doesn't succeed, they would have to change how they process data internally for German users only. And they could only combine data into a single profile for a Facebook account if you give explicit consent. And that is not just a little checkbox. That's right, like, okay, here's the deal. We're going to collect all this data. Is that okay with you? And you really have to say, yeah, no, I know exactly what you're up to. I just saw a survey that said something like more than 80% of Americans don't like the idea of companies collecting information about them for purposes of advertising. They don't want customized ads. So, and I imagine in Germany it's even more so because it's an even more privacy-focused country. Now, if Facebook does it for Germany, I think they, just out of convenience, they did this with the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, which went into effect last summer. They essentially extended those procedures to everybody in the world. Well, we can't just say Europe only. We're just going to do it for everybody. Can't just say Germany only. We'd have to do it for everybody, except they couldn't. Because that's how they survive. So while I understand people are shocked, I tell you, that these companies are collecting information about them, are you know that, right? That's, when you create a Facebook, well, see, I guess it's in a way, okay, so the idea, you go and let's take a naive user, not you, an innocent user. Just comes, and everybody says, oh, Grandma, you got to get on Facebook because there'll be pictures of the grandkids. You can keep up with us. We keep up with you. Grandma says, that sounds great. Let me go to Facebook. And it says, and I think it does say explicitly, what you share is private unless you explicitly share it publicly. It's private. They use the word private a lot in that sign-up process. There's even a button that says private, public, all that, friends only. And the implication is very strong, intentionally, I'm sure, that when you share to friends only friends see it, except that's not true. Advertisers see it. And that if something's not public, only people you specifically say can see it, except that's not true. Advertisers can see it. And that's apparently a shock to people. I guess I understand why. Although I also feel like people are starting to learn. My mom does not, speaking of Grandma, does not have a Facebook account, doesn't want a Facebook account, and she's never wanted a Facebook account. She hates the idea. I don't know if explicitly in her mind she knows that this is about data collection, about her personal life, but she gets it, that she'd be putting stuff about herself on an internet page, and that would be public in some way, and she doesn't like that idea. So maybe there's hope. Except that my mom is in the tiny minority, right? Most everybody's on Facebook. I don't know what to say about this. It's clearly for Facebook to give you all the services it does for free, it needs to, this is the term Silicon Valley likes, monetize you. That sounds much cleaner and nicer than make money on you or sell you. But that's exactly what they need to do. And if they can't do that, if in Germany they can't do that, well, the threat is clear. We cannot offer those services to people in Germany. What do you think? You want Facebook? You willing to give up that privacy? That's kind of the deal. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's talk about it. We could talk about a lot more too. This show is just a chautauqua, just a get together to chat about tech. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're going to fire up the phones, get to your calls. Let's talk high tech right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Kim Schaffer, our phone angel. She's answering the calls. Hello, Kim.
Morning.
Welcome. Are you ready for a big Sunday?
Yeah, what is it today? The Grammys?
Grammys.
Grammys are on, I guess.
Grammys. And you know what's fun about the Grammys? For people in television production is just waiting for the audio failure.
Oh, what you guys were talking about yesterday.
Yesterday, Scott Wilkinson and I were talking about it. Most memorable, and I felt really bad, Adele, who I think can sing. I think she could sing pretty well.
She can sing.
She can sing.
Yeah.
But if you were to watch the Grammys, you would think, oh my gosh, she's flat. She can't sing because she was getting the wrong sound back in her ears. And that same Grammy, I think, had several problems. Metallica's lead singer, you couldn't hear him. His mic was off for a while.
That guy didn't have a job anymore.
You got to figure, well, but it's hard. It's hard because it's all live.
Yeah.
There's lots of microphones. I mean, I think I'm not sure I'm completely, I'm sympathetic.
But they rehearse, right? So you would think that those things were all set.
I don't know.
I don't know how that would
I don't know. Anyway, I'll be live is always fun. Except that, do we get it live here on the West Coast? I think we do.
They're starting red carpet at 4, so maybe we are.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I like it. I don't like it when they do awards shows after the fact.
Well, yeah, because if you're on social media, which you're not, everybody from the East Coast is posting what's going on. You're like, shut up.
We successfully watched the Super Bowl.
Well, that's live.
On TiVo. No.
Oh.
I TiVo'd it and came home a couple hours, like probably an hour and a half, 2 hours into the game.
Yeah.
Started at the beginning. Of course, we didn't skip the commercials. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
And watched it all the way through. I got one little spoiler. Somebody texted Lisa and said, "Boy, this game doesn't get interesting to the fourth quarter." And I was like, "Please, I don't want to." I know that's
get interesting at all.
That's a spoiler, though, right? Because we're watching, and there's some threats, and we thought, oh, maybe they're going to score, but then we found out. Kind of by that text, man.
Then you figured it out.
Was that John going, oh?
No, that's actually Burke.
Burke still hasn't watched it? Burke, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to spoil it for you.
Burke is not into the sports ball. He could care less.
All right. You've been answering the phone since early in the morning.
Yes.
About 10 minutes ago. And we have some phone calls to take. Who should I start with?
Line 3, Jeff in Bakersfield.
All righty. Thank you, Kim. Hello, Jeff. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling.
I've got kind of let me put it this way. I'm an old-timer with an old-time computer. I've got one of the XPS series Dell computers.
They still make them, so that doesn't say it's old.
Yes. Well, mine's 10 years old.
Oh, that's old.
2000, I know in computer terminology, that is prehistoric.
I always say computer years, dog years, they say 7 dog years for every human year. I'd say computer's about 15. So that's a 150-year-old computer. You treat it nice.
Well, yeah, the problem is it works fantastic and it runs like a clock. So
there you go.
My issue is I'm also a little bit of an online gamer, not heavy duty, but there's a few games I play with some of my buddies online. And what I'm finding is the newer games are now coming out with DirectX 11/12 is coming, I guess, or is here. But my video card maxes out at DirectX 10. So I've been searching to upgrade the card. I've called Dell multiple times, and they have told me there's nothing you can do. You have to get a new computer. So I take that with a grain of salt. But I've done some research, and the cards I'm finding all seem to have 8-pin connectors now to the power source. And my power source has 2 6-pin connectors on it.
So there's actually 2 problems. One is that you have PCI slots, right?
Right.
But not PCI Express slots. So there are plenty of PCI-only video cards, but the best cards are all PCI Express. Then there's that power issue. But you could get it. I'm pretty sure you could get an adapter. I don't think that's an issue.
That was kind of my question because I did see there was an adapter I could get, but again, through researching and reading things that it was kind of frowned on, it didn't perform well, and there were issues that could be created by using the adapter, so I was kind of hesitant.
There are other issues, too, because you're on the PCI slot and because you have, what's the processor in that? It must be a Core 2?
Well, it could be. I know it's an i7. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah. So
that early version,
video games do use both the CPU and the GPU. They use the CPU to do things like figure out who's around the corner. They don't do the graphics with it, but they do all the calculations about positioning and so forth with the CPU. And then the GPU renders it. It draws it, and that's where you need a lot of horsepower because it's not merely the fact that you want to be able to use DirectX 11. It's also really these games might not even perform playably at a frame rate that you would want to play at if they don't have enough horsepower under the hood. There's also the issue of the power supply, and I'm going to guess that the real issue with these adapters is not so much the adapters. I don't think that should make any difference, but just that if you're putting on an older machine, the power supply is probably not big enough to these slots are
Well, I've actually upgraded that. It's a 150 watt.
Oh, okay, so good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't spend a lot of money. I wouldn't get, maybe get a GTX 1060 or something like that. Not the latest, greatest. In fact, you might even go to the 960 because, first of all, you're going to have to find one that does the PCI slot, and that's going to be an interesting challenge.
Well, probably, I'm assuming any card today would be better. The card that I have in it now, it is a a Radeon HD 4870. So.
I dimly remember those. Yes.
Yeah, it was a pretty good card at the time. So I'm thinking even a slight upgrade to something that will work in this computer is probably going to be better than that one is.
I'm looking at the 960 that uses PCIe. You're also going to have the issue with your PCI slot. It's probably PCI 2.0. I'm guessing.
I think it is 2.0. Yeah.
So there's really going to be a small subset of video cards you can use with this. The question is whether they'll even, whether there'll be any additional speed. Most powerful PCI. Boy, this is. Yeah, most video cards now are PCI Express. This is going to be an interesting challenge for you. If you can find the card, I wouldn't hesitate using the adapter because you've got enough power supply. I don't think the power adapter is going to be the issue. But honestly, if you're trying to play video games on a 10-year-old computer, it's going to get more and more difficult. One thing you could do, although once you've started this process, you might as well just buy a new computer, is just upgrade the motherboard. but by then, now you got to upgrade everything else. So.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm trying to avoid. I mean, looking easily probably well over $1,000 for a new computer.
Right. Do you? So somebody in the chat room saying his 10-year-old i7 does have a PCI Express slot. So maybe yours does. If it does, that would, I think, simplify things as long as you've got enough power on that slot. So you're going to really want to look at what the power demands of the card are, the throughput of the card, and see if you can get one that fits what you've got. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I mean, $1,000, you're going to spend $200 on the card.
Right.
So, do you know if your machine has a PCI Express slot?
I'm not positive. I can't tell you for sure.
It's a funny looking. It's got a little notch on it. It's a little shorter than the regular PCI slot. So it would be you'd have 3 or 4 PCI slots, and then you'd have a shorter notch slot that's PCI Express.
Okay.
There are decent gaming rigs, honestly, for maybe $500-600. PC Perspective has a low-end machine that would be much faster than yours. Because remember, you're also, even though you have an i7 in there, it's an older i7. You're speeding up the processing too. At some point, the card is going to be waiting for the processor, so it won't matter. I guess though, if you say, well, but I'm going to have DirectX 11, so then I can at least play the game. Okay, so somebody has figured out. Yeah, I would go to PC Perspective, PCPER.com, and you're obviously sophisticated. If you change the power supply, you know what you're doing, and you can look at.
I know just enough to be dangerous.
You can look at it's a tab at the top called the HW Leaderboard, and they talk about a low end, mid range, high end, and dream system. The low end is $468. The mid range system is $982, and that would certainly play a lot better on these games.
Okay.
You've probably upgraded the RAM on this thing by now, and you put in new hard drives. You kept this beast alive. You know, I understand your reluctance because in many respects this thing is up to date.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, except for the graphics card and the motherboard, I think it's pretty, recent. And I can't say necessarily up to date, but pretty recent.
Yeah. Yeah. So BC in our chat room says he has a GTX 780 Ti, which is a fairly old NVIDIA card, in his 10-year-old computer. That's probably not, if you could still buy it, it's probably not too expensive, although I don't know if you can. And I wonder...
What was it again, a GTX what?
A 7 series. I think he said a 780.
The 780, okay.
Yeah, let me just see what's if they're still selling those. In other words, what you kind of want is a card that's closer to your machine's vintage, but newer, right? Like a 5-year-old card,
right? Exactly.
Instead of a 10-year-old card.
Something that came out yesterday, right?
You definitely don't, because it'll just be waiting on the CPU anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what the slowest. I see it looks like they still are listing on NVIDIA's site the 710. I think the 7 series will be the oldest ones. Let me just see if that's 710. I can't tell if it's PCI or E or PCI. I bet check and see if you have a little PCIe thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you do, then probably it's okay. It's probably okay.
Okay.
Just remember that you're gated by the CPU, the I/O, everything else too.
All right.
Good luck.
That's really great.
I don't know anything. I don't know of any problem with a power adapter, and as long as you have a power supply sufficient, I think that's. If people are reporting problems, it's probably because the power supply just isn't hefty enough.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, good luck. Have fun. All right.
I appreciate your help. Thanks very much.
My pleasure. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What happened to our ultimate gaming machine from the screensavers? Is that still around? Well, yeah, we have it in the other room. I took my beast home.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
Somewhere. We have it here. We use it for a test bed. Nobody going to take my car. I'm going to race it to the ground. It's time for Sam Abuelsamid. That's what that caller was doing. He was said, nobody going to take my Dell. I'm going to race it to the ground. It's 10 years old.
Nobody's going to take my car out of my cold, dead hands.
You have an old Miata. How old's your car, Sam Abuelsamid?
It's 29 years old.
Oh, that's a vintage.
It is.
A
the very
vintage
first
car.
model year, 1990.
I wanted that Miata when that came out. Those are so cute.
I did too, and I finally got one a couple of years ago.
It's because I'd always wanted a TR7. You know, one of the I like those little midgets, the MG
has all the
midgets.
Advantages of a Great British Roadster, except it works.
Yeah, it's a Mazda.
Yeah.
Sam is our car guy. He's a senior researcher, Navigant researcher. His Navigant research has driven every car in the world. Is a absolute car expert and joins us not to talk just about automobiles in general, but about modern technology and cars. What do you want to talk about today, Sam?
I want to touch a little bit on EVs today, and particularly in light of the cold weather that a lot of the country's been experiencing over the last couple of weeks.
Freezing in Seattle. a lot of electric vehicles up there. Why is weather an issue for electric vehicles?
Well, actually, it's an issue for all vehicles. I mean, when it gets really cold, any vehicle is going to get less efficient. Your tires get harder. You're going to have more rolling resistance. So even gas-powered cars are going to get lower fuel economy. Plus, you got more load from things like your window defoggers and things like that. But for an EV, what happens is when the battery gets really cold, the power output of the battery gets decreased. The energy capacity of the battery stays the same, but it puts out less power until it heats up. And so you're going to have less performance. That's not so much of a problem usually in the wintertime, if you don't have your full ludicrous mode capability when the road is covered with snow and ice. That's probably not such a bad thing.
No,
but
I think a very good thing.
But one of the big differences between a gas-powered or diesel-powered car and an electric car is an internal combustion engine has a lot of excess waste heat that it gives off, and that waste heat can be, goes into your engine coolant, and that runs through a heat exchanger that can be used to heat your cabin when it's when it's cold outside. A battery or an electric car doesn't have that source of waste heat, so when you start up your car on a cold day, it's got to uses some sort of resistance heater or some sort of heater that's drawing power directly from your battery. And so that can have a significant effect on your range. And a AAA study that just came out this week estimated they looked at a bunch of different EVs, found roughly about a 41% reduction in range in really cold weather.
A lot of EVs try to get around that by having seat heaters, which are more efficient than the blowers that heat up.
Yeah, most EVs on the road today come standard with seat heaters. In many cases, also heated steering wheels.
So the idea is don't heat the cabin, just heat your butt.
Yeah, well, I mean, you still can heat the cabin, but it takes a lot less energy if you've got direct heat transfer right to your body, to your backside, and to your hands.
It can get quite hot, actually.
Yeah. And the other thing that you can also do to mitigate that problem is most EVs allow you to precondition the car, so you can set a time that you're going to leave. So say you're going to leave for work at 7 a.m. And if you have your car plugged in overnight, you tell it what time you want to leave and what you want the cabin temperature to be, say 72 degrees or whatever, maybe 68 degrees. And it'll figure out, based on what the current ambient temperature is, what time do I have to start heating up the cabin to get it to the comfortable temperature when you're ready to leave while the car is still plugged in.
While it's plugged in. That's sensible.
It takes a lot less energy to maintain 68 degrees than it does to raise it from 20 degrees to 68 degrees.
There's another reason for that. Dr. Mom in the chat room, who has a Tesla, says during the polar vortex, it was so cold she had to warm up her car internally before she could open the door. The windows froze shut.
Yeah, that can be a problem with some cars that have that don't have frames around the windows. They just
the windows go right up into the
Yeah, it goes into a little rubber channel, and so the window has to drop down a quarter inch or so. And if it's all iced up, that can be a problem. So you got to warm it up a little.
I think some people say just don't get an electric car in areas where it gets that cold. Is that your experience?
No, I don't. I wouldn't say that's true anymore. I mean, when we got the first generation of mainstream EVs back in 2010, 2011, like the first generation Nissan Leaf, Ford Focus Electric, and some others that only had about 70 to 80 miles of range. That might have been was realistic.
Cut that in half and then you're really in trouble.
Now you're down to 35, 40 miles of range, and you're getting pretty sketchy sometimes. But with these modern EVs, like the two over my shoulders here that you can see, the Kia Soul EV, also the new Kia Niro EV, and the Hyundai Kona EV, and then the Chevy Bolt, they're all well over 200 miles of range under good conditions. So even if you chop 40% off of that, you're still looking at 130, 140, 150 miles of range. And most people don't commute more than 40 miles a day. So you have plenty of extra. But like I said, you still want, if you can plug it in overnight and preheat it in the morning, that'll do a lot. You'll instead of losing 40% of your range, you'll lose maybe 20, 25% of your range. Because you also have to run things like your window defoggers, because when you breathe inside of a cold car, your windows are going to fog up, and those things take those features take energy from the battery to operate. So those are some hints. Keep the car plugged in if you can, and preheat it, and you'll be a lot better off.
That's what I do. But I don't live in the polar vortex. I live in California, so it's just it gets so cold at 55 degrees. I'm freezing.
Yeah,
so I like to have that car.
I know your Tesla, has such marginal range for that. 2-3 mile drive to work?
Yeah, I know. I have 230 miles. I have a little excess. In fact, I only charge my Tesla once a week. Although, I sometimes think about, what do you do if you don't own your own home? If you live in an apartment.
That's where things can get sketchy. More and more apartment management companies are putting in EV chargers in their parking garages. But if you don't have a place to plug in at home, a lot of companies are putting in workplace charging. So take advantage of that. Obviously, that's not going to help you with the morning, but depending on how far you have to commute, that can still be all right if you've got a car with enough range. I got
an electrician to come and put one of those RV NEMA 50 plugs in the wall, and that's great for. It's not fast, but I'm at home. It charges in 5 or 6 hours. Charges overnight, and so I'm fine with that.
And that's fine. That's fine for most people. I mean, if you can charge your car in 5 or 6 hours, that's all you need, if it's at home, because most people,
overnight.
Most cars sit idle 95% of the time.
That's right. And I feel good about it because I have solar panels, and so I feel like I'm generating the power I use to drive around, which is kind of a nice feeling.
If we've got a minute before we leave, I do want to touch on one other thing. I'm going to be out in California next month for the NVIDIA GPU Technology Conference in March.
You wouldn't think that's a car thing, but they're making self-driving vehicles, right?
Yeah, well, they're not making NVIDIA's not making
the hardware
self-driving
for
vehicles,
them.
but they're making a lot of the chips for a lot of these vehicles. And NVIDIA chips are also used to power a lot of the infotainment systems in cars and digital cockpits. So at the GTC, they're having a whole bunch of sessions on automotive-related topics.
Interesting.
And given that a lot of engineers are getting laid off right now from various car companies, particularly GM just did a round of layoffs as they're trying to get the people with the right skill sets, going from designing internal combustion engines and old style technology to autonomous vehicles and modern technology. For anybody that's looking to learn more about how to work with with AI and deep learning, machine learning, it's a great opportunity, great learning opportunity. You get to interface directly with NVIDIA engineers and also all the other people that are there. And I've actually got a discount code from NVIDIA for 20% off registration if you're interested.
Nice.
I dropped it in the chat earlier, but I'll send you a copy of the discount code if you want to stick in the show notes.
Thank you. Sam Abuelsamid,
September 18th to 20th.
He is a senior researcher for Navigant. And when you come out for that, I hope you're going to bring me a car. You got anything to show off?
I'm planning on. I'm trying to line up a new Kia Niro EV.
Nice. We just the iPace review we did of the new Jaguar EV is now on our hot feed at twit.tv/hot. Pretty nice vehicle. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hot's our new show. Hands on tech. And we'll put the Kia.
Yeah, the video came out good. I liked it.
Yeah, they did. Anthony worked a long time to get that to all cut together. He's really good at that. So good. I'm glad you saw it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. What are the dates for that NVIDIA thing again?
March 18th to the 21st is the actual GTC. So that's Monday to Thursday of that week. I'm coming out on the Sunday morning.
Nice. Fun. I can't wait. So you can do the show live.
Yeah.
Nice. Very good. And I'm going to look through the show notes, look through the chat. Put it in the chat again because I didn't. Okay, I missed it when you did it. What is the normal cost?
I think it's around $1,500, and this is a 20% off code. I mean, it's pretty standard for most of these.
Oh yeah, I know they're expensive.
Yeah. Let's see. Where's the copy? Okay, there's the discount code and the link to
it's a long one. Okay, good.
Yeah, well, the discount
I see.
code
MCX Navigant.
And then the other one is the link to the page where you can see what the sessions are.
Lovely. I will tell everybody when we get back.
All righty.
Thanks, Sam. Have a great day. Stay warm. Is it freezing in Detroit?
It's about 28 right now.
Oh, that's nothing.
Warmed up a little bit.
For a guy
I was in Chicago the other day. It was 8 degrees.
I like it here.
All right.
And now that they had snow in Seattle, we were thinking maybe of retiring in Seattle. No, never.
Yeah, but that only happens there about once every 10 years.
I know, I'm joking. All right, take care, Sam.
All right, talk to you next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number. We'll put Sam's offer code for the NVIDIA GTC conference on our show notes at techguylabs.com if you're inclined to go. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number, 888-827-5536, toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Paul in San Diego. Thanks for calling in, Paul.
Hi, it's Paul.
Hey, Paul. Go ahead.
I called a few weeks ago about cutting the line on a landline phone.
Oh, yeah.
And replacing it with Google Voice. It took a while, and it's up and running.
Oh, great. Did you get the OB devices, or what kind of devices did?
I bought an OB200.
Great.
And all along the way, it doesn't work smoothly, but they have, most of the vendors I dealt with have good email support.
Excellent.
Nobody's on the phone.
No.
Yeah, so I wound up from a Spectrum landline. I moved it first to U.S. Mobile.
Great.
And I had to add it to an old S4 phone. They were the only ones who would actually let me use an S4.
Oh, interesting.
The big guys, they say that's too old.
Yeah.
And then I had it running for a while. I moved it over to Google Voice, and then I moved it to an OB200.
The OB is a little hardware device that connects to your internet that allows you to use old-style phones. You just plug them into the OB.
That's exactly what I wanted to do.
Right.
But I was concerned about not somebody picking up an emergency and dialing 411, and it wouldn't work.
911 is the issue with this. Yeah.
And so they suggested on their website using AdVio, but it didn't work. I used CallCentric.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know about this.
It works.
So they provide an E911 service on your Google Voice line.
Correct.
Is there a fee for that?
Yeah, it costs $1.50 a month.
Nice. Call-centric internet phone service. So they're it looks like they're a interface from internet telephony, from VoIP, to plain old telephone service. Is that what they do? They connect the two?
Yeah. Essentially, they provide a VoIP service.
Oh, it's VoIP entirely. Okay. Business and home users combine an internet phone service solution with features and options that work for them. That looks good. Very nice. You obviously did the homework, and you stuck to it. You didn't give up.
Yeah, that was the issue, was not giving up and just pressing forward and wait for people to get back to you, and which they did.
Good man, Paul. So you're happy with your setup now? Is it reliable?
Well, it works all the time. Oh, and one other thing, to test it, they have a number 933, and that tells you what it supposedly will say to the 911 recipient.
Oh, interesting. Does it say your address?
Yep, it gives you an address.
Got it.
And an automated voice and your name.
I got it. That's interesting.
And then, unfortunately, the first time with the first service, when you can call 911 and immediately tell them it's a test, and they don't mind that.
Oh, okay.
And then they said, "Well, gee, it didn't come through." So finally, after several tries, that's why I moved to CallCentric, and it worked.
Good on you for getting that working, because I do think that's really important. People assume that you could pick up a phone and dial 911, and you're not going to put a big sticker on the phone that says, "This does not call 911." So it's important that I think it was important that you figured that all out. CallCentric. Thank you for the plug for them. CallCentric.com. And Paul, thank you for being a good geek. Not only pursuing it to the bitter end, but telling us.
Yeah, thank you for getting me started on it.
Hey, I'm glad it worked.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. That's I should have asked him. I suspect that we were on that line. It was a little choppy. And that's, of course, what happens. Remember this with voice over the internet. If the internet is not healthy at that moment, or your internet particularly, or the internet in general, then that's what will happen. You'll get little dropouts of sound. Still can use it, but it's maybe a little bit less clear. On the other hand, sometimes internet phone calls are even better, right? If your smartphone does voice over LTE, you'll notice if you've ever made a VoLTE call, how it sounds like the person's in the room. We're so used to poor telephony. It's pretty amazing. Brian in Nashville, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Brian.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm great. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I want to know if you use one or can suggest one. I've got one, but I'm finding it more of a hassle than its convenience, and
I've had one my whole life. Router. Oh, a travel router. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know what you were talking about. Yeah, a travel router is actually a great idea. So
I spend a lot of time in coffee houses, so working.
Yeah, or even more important when you're traveling in a hotel Wi-Fi. Everybody else is on that network, right? Coffee houses, anywhere you're on open Wi-Fi. But even if you're plugging into Ethernet, that's no safer. You're still on a shared network. cruise ships, hotels, everywhere you go. So the idea is a travel router, just like a router at your home, connects to that dangerous internet, and then you connect to the travel router. Has a couple of advantages. If you're using Ethernet, which is, by the way, probably the ideal way to do it, it will then turn it into a Wi-Fi access point for multiple devices. That's handy. Many travel routers support VPN, but even if they don't, virtual private networking, which encrypts your data, but even if they don't, just by virtue of having that barrier, that's a big improvement. If you've ever, I remember this, you'd go to a hotel, you'd plug in the Ethernet, and all of a sudden iTunes would say, oh, look, I see all these other music collections out there. You want to share them? It was proof positive that there were all these other people on the same network connecting up their computers, and I was seeing all their shares. So a travel router would block that instantly. You would be invisible to them, they'd be invisible to you, because traffic has to go through the travel router, has to be specifically directed to you. But I would look for a travel router that also supports VPN. If you wanted to turn that on, that will give you an extra level of security, especially on Wi-Fi. And because that, remember, a travel router won't save you if you're doing it on Wi-Fi, because your traffic is going through the air and then unencrypted in many cases. So I use a company called Hotspot VPN. I'm sorry, that's the company, but the hardware routers are from tinyhardwarefirewall.com. And they're inexpensive, usually under $100. They're designed for this, and they have built-in VPN. They're powered by inexpensive USB. The one I'm holding right now, their Smart Router 300M, has an Ethernet port for incoming and outgoing, but also has 2 Wi-Fi radios. And that's the other reason these are good to use over many travel routers. A lot of companies, Netgear and others, make travel routers, but this is good because it has 2 Wi-Fi radios, which means you can connect one to the hotel or coffee shop's Wi-Fi, connect your laptop to the other, and the router sits in between, which is very handy. Or, even more securely, turn off, in fact, this is my recommendation, turn off the Wi-Fi radio in your laptop. Just having that radio on provides a venue for bad guys. And use Ethernet to connect to the travel router, your laptop to the travel router, even if the travel router is connecting to the coffee shop's Wi-Fi. So that eliminates a big problem, which is just having a Wi-Fi radio on some laptops can make you vulnerable. So yes, I do recommend them. And the ones I use are from a site called tinyhardwarefirewall.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Our show today brought to you by Capterra. I love these guys at Capterra. What a great company. It's funny because we've come so far in the last few decades, with the stuff we talk about. Yet a lot of you and work using specialized software for your business are using outdated stuff. I mean, how many times do I hear people say, oh, we can't upgrade Windows because our realty system requires Windows XP. I hear that all the time. It's what's kept Internet Explorer alive for generations. Well, if you're stuck using old line of business software at your work, maybe it's time to leap into the future, find something from the 21st century at Capterra.com/techguy. Capterra is free. First of all, I'm going to say there's no reason not to do this. CAPTERRA, Capterra.com/techguy. It is the leading free online resource to find business software. And I'm telling you, 700 categories of software, from project management to email marketing to yoga studio management software, veterinary office, dental office, whatever it is you need. And here's what makes Capterra extra special. Over 700,000 vetted reviews of products from real users of that product. So you're going to hear from people who actually use the product. Plus, Capterra has such a great organizational system. You can really drill down into the product you want, having the features you need, read the reviews. It's the easiest way. I know maybe sometimes people Google trying to find business software. That's a crazy thing. You'll get a lot of answers, but there's you don't know what's the best. More work on your part. Maybe you'll call Leo. Leo doesn't know. Just go to Capterra.com/techguy. No matter what kind of software you use in business, Capterra makes it easy to find a modern, up-to-date solution fast. That's why millions of people use Capterra every month to find the right tools for their business. Capterra. Capterra.com/techguy. Tech Guy. Use it for free, always free, to find the right tools to make this the year your business enters the 21st century. It's about time. We're 19 years in. Capterra, Capterra, Capterra.com/Tech Guy. We love Capterra. We use it all the time, and we thank them so much for their support. We actually use Capterra to check other companies. When the companies say we want to advertise, first thing I'll do is look them up on Capterra and look at the reviews. Very first thing. Capterra.com/Tech Guy. Thank you, Capterra. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers and the internet, home theater, digital photography. We'll talk about smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888. Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. The website, techguylabs.com. That's good to know about because that's where you go if you hear something and you say, I want to write that down. No, you don't have to write it down. You're busy. Just go to the website at your leisure. It's open 7 days a week. techguylabs.com. No sign up and no fee. No subscription necessary. techguylabs.com. Neil's in Phoenix, Arizona. Hello, Neil. You're next. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Nice to talk to you again.
Listen, I'm always taking your advice, and the latest advice I took was to order a Helm server. It's actually come down if you were not aware.
I know. I bought it at $500. I think they reduced it to, what, $400 now?
$299.
What? Oh, man.
$299. So I've ordered
Helm. What are you going to do? Early adopter price. So this is, I should explain before you go on, Neil, this is a home email service. The idea is you run your... Instead of putting your email and trusting Google or Yahoo or your internet service provider to store it, you put your email on a server that you run out of your house. But in order to make it work, and I should mention they're a sponsor of our podcast, so it started, I bought one. We had them on a show, and I interviewed them. I bought one and used it, and I loved it. And then later they came along as an advertiser, so I've used it as a unbiased user for some time. And in order to make this work, they have to solve a lot of technical issues, which a home user would be hard-pressed to solve on their own. So at $299, I think that's a pretty good deal. You do pay $100 a year after the first year, $100 a year for a subscription. So what's your question, or do you have one?
Well, I do, actually. I bought the Helm server. I bought a domain from Hover, and so I could use my own email address. Mm-hmm. I have that configured. I'm waiting for the device to arrive.
Oh, good. Oh, okay.
A couple of questions up.
Good. All right.
So a couple of questions. One, first of all, how do you back the device up? Because one would think, you can't put...
that's one of the things you get. One of the things you get for $99 is they back it up. So it's backed up over the internet. They do incremental backups every day. Once a month, they do a full backup. And actually, that's a pretty good deal. I have 40 gigabytes of email on my Helm server because I copied my old email over. So that's 40 gigabytes they're backing up for me. That's actually part of the $100 a year rather, and I think that makes good sense. What's cool about it is that the contents of the email, everything on that local server is encrypted, and it's encrypted with a key that only you have access to. So while they're backing up your encrypted backup, they can't actually look at it or read it or anything, and it can't be in any way decrypted. They're using strong encryption. They provide you with a USB key, which you stick into the Helm, and it copies recovery information over to it. So if a Helm died, or you got a new one, or you moved, or whatever, you could decrypt your encrypted backups using this USB key. So I actually have this. The reason I have it here at work is because I didn't want to leave it next to the Helm. I have it at work where it's safe. So say my house burned down and the Helm got lost with it, there would be an encrypted backup on the Helm servers, but I wouldn't have access to it unless I had this recovery key.
And then one other point is there, once you get it set up, because I assume I can't use the new email address that I created until I've got that Helm server online so I can create it, but how do I then easily notify all of my contacts of the new address?
Well, what I did, is I put a vacation responder on the old address. In other words, didn't get rid of the old address. And instead of in the vacation responder putting the new address, I said, I don't use this address anymore. Don't send me email here. If you want my new address, ask me. And I figured, mainly because I didn't want, just anybody who sends me email to the old address to know the new address, right? I wanted it to be, eliminate spammers and things, newsletters, things I didn't want. So I figured, well, if I just say ask me. Now, if you wanted to, you could put your new email address in that email responder. So I don't know. Where do you keep your email right now?
Right now, everything I have forwards to Google.
Yeah.
So that is to bring everything from Google down.
Yeah. So there's two things you'll do. One thing is in the Helm, you can say import email from another account. So you'll import all the old email. That's where that 40 gigs of email came from. And then in Google's settings, there's what they call a vacation email. And I've set that so that if you send email to my old Google email account, you'll get an email that says, I no longer use this account. Please use this new address.
And last question, if I may, real quick. How do you bring down the calendar and contacts to it?
So they support a standard calendar and contact syncing, the same one Google and Apple does, really, CalDAV, and for the calendar. And for the address book, they use VCF. And they support that and have a synchronization server built in. So that's part of what you get with a Helm server. In fact, most email providers will also do that. Google does it, but so does Fastmail and other email providers. They provide calendar and contact service. The first time you'll need to import your calendar into the calendar on the Helm, and then you can either shut down or continue to run your Google Calendar and have it synchronized with it. So if you want to really go completely private, not like Google have your address book, your email, and your calendar, you can move it all to the Helm. But that first time, I think you're going to have to do an export from Google and an import into Helm. I have not done that, so I'm not sure what that process involves, but that would be my best guess.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. I'm looking forward to receiving it.
Yeah.
By the end of the month. So
give me a review when you get it. I didn't realize, I paid $500 for it, so they really did drop the price. That's good news. They are an advertiser, so that's the disclaimer. It's really, anybody, and I think a lot of people listening said, well, I know how to set up an email server. I could set that up in my house. It's not that easy. First of all, your internet service provider probably doesn't want you to do that, and so they'll block outbound email. Almost all internet service providers do that. They don't want spam to be coming from their network. And many recipients, including Google, will not accept email from a residential internet address, an IP address. So most of the IP addresses people have at home are just by default blocked by Google. Those addresses typically are containing spam, but people's machines got hacked or whatever, and they're spamming out a lot of garbage. And so your internet service provider will block it, and Google themselves, most recipients will block it. You need to have a clean IP address for email to be received. And actually, Helm does some interesting things to kind of precondition these addresses to make sure that they're usable with most email services. Spam has gotten to be so bad on the internet that you can't just randomly pick an IP address and send mail from it. It just won't work. So they do a lot of other things, including supporting standards for email authentication, DKIM and SPF, DMARC. Those are really good things to have in an email provider, because it means that the receiving end can say, they can do reverse DNS. They can say, this is legit, this is authenticated. All of that's very good. I think they've done they solved a very tough problem, which is how if you're going to do email, how can you do it at home? And incidentally, one of the ways they do this is they have the IP address, not yours. Your email goes through their servers. It goes through encrypted. They don't have access to it. They just kind of do a reflection service. And that also solves the first problem, because they're not sending email out from your house, so you're not violating the terms of service of your internet service provider. They establish a VPN connection from your Helm server at home to the Helm servers in the cloud. And so the only traffic that your ISP sees is simple VPN traffic. And the email is sent through that encrypted, both from outside eyes and from, in fact, the Helm server guy's eyes. They can't see it either. And it goes out through there and out to the real world. I've been using it for a while now. I created a dedicated email account, and I've been really happy with it. Took a couple of issues. The Comcast business class router that I have didn't work initially with the Helm, and Helm has very good support. I talked to their top support guy, and he said, "Oh, that router, you better get it. That router is blocking VPN traffic, Open VP, or actually IPsec VP traffic doesn't work over it. So we had to work around that, but we were able to, and it works great now." Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Let's take a little teeny weeny, teensy tiny timeout, and I'll come back with more of your calls right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. John's on the line from West Palm Beach. Hello, John.
Hi, Leo.
How's the weather down there?
It's gorgeous. I got the windows open. It's 78 degrees.
Oh. So jealous.
Anyway, I am so glad I got hold of you. I, too, coincidentally, have a 10-year-old XPS 8100.
Oh, it's XPS 8100 year that day today. That's good.
We're plugging Dell's reliability today, I guess.
They last forever. All computers should. I mean, there's no moving parts. Moving parts are the only things that are going to wear out.
And, yeah, that's my problem. I have a setup where I have two SSDs. I have one with Windows 7 on it and one with Windows 10 on it.
Nice.
I dual boot.
Yeah.
I have a 3 terabyte for, all my storage. And 3 years ago, I got a 4 terabyte external. Was storing my TV shows and movies on it. I like to binge watch TV shows, so I wait till the end of the season. And then, anyway, after 10 months, that thing died. I called up their tech support and explained to him what I was using it for. And he said, well, that shouldn't be an active hard drive. It's storage.
Oh, come on.
I know.
Oh, does it say that on the box? Please do not use regularly.
That's what I said to him. I said, what is... Anyway, they honored the warranty, sent me another one, which only had a 1-year warranty on it. A year and a half later, that one dies, and so did the one inside my computer at the same time.
Are these Western Digital? Who makes these?
One was Seagate, one was Western Digital.
Okay.
So, I'm taking the computer apart. I decided, let me go with Toshiba this time. I get a 3 terabyte Toshiba. I got to put it in the computer. My power supply was dead. I was wondering if this had anything to do with my hard drive dying.
No. I don't. Well, it could. Certainly, if your power supply wasn't doing a good job with the, turning that AC to DC, it could be that was a proximate cause.
I replaced it with the 3 terabyte. Everything's fine. Everything's working.
Good.
This was March of last year. Now this Toshiba is dying.
Oh.
I can't write to it. I can read off of it, but I can't write to it.
The Toshiba's a spinning disk as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm wondering, am I doing something? This is 4 hard drives in 3 years.
Yeah. Well, the good news is they're cheap. The bad news is they shouldn't be wearing out that fast. My friend Steve Gibson, who's my personal hard drive guru, has often said those large capacity drives make him nervous because they're packing data so tightly on them. Let me ask you if you know this. A lot of times when you get a 4 terabyte, it's really two terabytes. Do you know if they were single drives or multiple drives in those enclosures?
They were single drives.
Single drives, okay.
Well, I'm down to a 3 terabyte now.
Yeah. Same thing, though. Single drive. That's the Toshiba.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they shouldn't wear out that fast. It's possible but see, the external drive wore out too.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why they're dying so rapidly on you.
Yeah, so the motherboard wouldn't have anything to do with that, right?
No. And somebody in the chat room saying, well, you shouldn't let your drives run all the time. Actually, they're probably more reliable than if you turn them off and on, so you can have the drives go to sleep. But the problem is then the cool down and warm up cycle expands and contracts the bearings. That actually can wear them out more than... It's funny, I was just visiting the old Queen Mary, a ship built in the 30s that ran for almost 40 years until the 60s and is now in dry docked in Long Beach. And there is a gear in that boat that takes the very high-speed turbine generated by the steam engines and reduces it. It's a reduction gear, reduces it to a slower speed for the propellers. It's a gear that was put in 1936 and ran continuously for 40 years and shows no wear at all. No, not a nick. It's so perfectly balanced, so perfectly made. The engineering is so remarkable. All in the days before computer design.
Right.
Paper and pen. And they were able to make this perfectly balanced gear that was operating at thousands of revolutions a minute for 40 years. And you can't get a hard drive to break for a year and a half.
Yeah, because my original hard drive, it lasted me like 8 years.
Yeah.
Now, bang, bang, bang. Hey, my second part of the question is...
I think it's part of it is honestly the higher densities.
Well, now I'm shopping for a new hard drive, and they've got NAS hard drives, they've got surveillance hard drives, they've got,
So one of the reasons I like going with a NAS for this is because instead of one drive, you have maybe 4 single terabyte or 4 2 terabyte drives. Smaller drives, smaller capacity. Those are going to be a little more reliable, and they're set up in such a way using RAID that if one of the drive dies, you can even set up that if 2 of the drives died, you don't lose any data. You just replace those. This is a more expensive solution, but it is more reliable.
Right. Well, my problem is I've only got room for one drive, and I've got.
These are externals. NASs are external, and they run. In fact, they generally run off the network, not off a USB connector or a Thunderbolt connector. So,
I've got to replace my internal hard drive, and I'm trying to figure out which one to get. Do I get
every hard drive company, reason I asked you, Western Digital went through a bad period, Seagate went through a bad period. Every hard drive company has gone through periods where their drives are less reliable, but they almost always get back on track and they fix them. I do think that these, what you're getting is 4 terabyte drives that are sold in huge capacities. They're selling them at big box stores. They're selling thousands a day. They're cranking them out. I just have to think they're just less reliable. If you go out and get a Western Digital black drive, get one of the higher quality drives, I think you'll have better results. In other words, don't try to save money, because obviously this was a false economy. So maybe the Western Digital Caviar black drives.
Actually, I'm looking at a Western Digital purple. It's kind of in my price range, and I'm comparing it to another Toshiba, which is basically the same price.
Yeah, some of the drives are designed for longer use. The server drives are designed for longer use. I can't remember what purple's for. That's a new color. But that might be a good idea. The Western Digital blacks have a 5-year guarantee. I don't know what the WD purples are. What are those for?
It's 3 or 4. I think it's at least 3.
Those are the surveillance hard drives. Yeah, those. Right, so they're designed for continuous use because the surveillance cameras are writing all the time. That's interesting.
That's why I'm confused,
Well, I would, what you really look at is the warranty.
Yeah.
If they're going to see, there's 3-year warranty on the purples. There's a 5-year warranty on the blacks. Doesn't help you much if it still dies, right? It's still a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
I'm not. These purples are newer, and I'm not that. Well, they're not that new. Here's an article about them from 2014. I'm just new to me. So these are surveillance. Oh, I see. Okay, one of the things is they're slower drives. They're 5,400 RPM. So
that doesn't matter to me.
No, you don't care. Somebody in the chat room saying he's had 4 I haven't had a hard drive fail in years, by the way. Really haven't had them fail in years. So I think you're getting some bad luck. If you go for the enterprise grade drives.
Okay, there's an answer.
Yeah, you're going to get a better result. The Western Digital blacks are guaranteed for 5 years. They run at 7,200 RPM. They're faster. If you use RAID in an enclosure, whether it's USB or a network attached storage, that's going to help too because it lessens the
right.
And then cooling is really important. Make sure your cooling is good. That case has good airflow and all that. You open it enough that you probably know that it's clean and there's no dust blocking.
Oh, yeah. Do I have time for another quick question?
Sure.
I have an older router, and it was T-Mobile was giving these out a couple of years ago when you had trouble getting signals. and it's not updating. But also, I have a Comcast router. I've got both running. If I install Tomato on the router or another firmware, would that give me updates?
Yes. If it's compatible with Tomato or DDWRT, one of the open source router programs, yeah. As long as they're being updated, you will get updates, yeah.
Okay, so that's a solution to that.
Absolutely. If it works with it, you got to make sure it works with it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good reason to use these third-party router solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Have a great day. Nice to talk to you. Enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, John. See you. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's funny because remember how people were so worried about SSDs failing, and I've had much better results, frankly, with the SSDs in the long run, I think. I have a 4 terabyte Seagate that I was using as a backup, so it's not being used continuously. It gets every night. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it is. No, I take it back. It's my data drive, 4 terabyte spinning Seagate. It's my data drive. And then that gets backed up every day to a Drobo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Joe in Looking Glass, Oregon. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Leo, you do this every single time I call.
What is that I do?
Well, every time I'm on hold for 2 hours, and then I go to the bathroom and you call.
I have it planned that way.
I had it figured.
I'm listening all the time, Joe, and as soon as I hear you get up, I go, Joe, Looking Glass, Oregon.
As I go, you kidding me?
If I go, you go.
Yeah, okay.
For you go, I go.
It's been a while.
Well, Joe, do you want me to pick you up in a minute, or do you want to stay on the line?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
No, it's been a while since we talked. I was living in L.A. the last time we talked, and we were talking about my Windows Mobile 6 phone.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. It finally died last year, and I went to my HTC U11, which I'm very happy with.
I like those. I feel bad because HTC really is gone, I think, in effect. Google bought many of their engineers, some of their intellectual property, and HTC says we're going to still make phones, but it was a bad couple of years. It's too bad.
It's not as good a phone as the Advantage was,
no,
which lasted me literally 15 years.
One of my favorite Android phones was their HTC One. What a great phone. But
oh, yeah.
There you go. That's what happens.
Anyway, speaking of Android, I am looking to upgrade the phone in my new FJ Cruiser that I bought to an Android system. And I'm not certain what that means. Because I've heard that it still has to have the phone to do anything. That the screen merely mirrors the phone.
Yeah, that's right.
All I'm getting is a bigger screen.
Well, no, you're getting a little more than that. So there's CarPlay and Android Auto. CarPlay's Apple's solution. The idea is that the head unit in your car mirrors your phone with some considerable limitations, by the way. It's not just your phone screen up there. It's big icons and a limited number of things, mostly music, calling, maps, the kinds of things you use on the road. You can't launch Candy Crush on it or anything like that.
I understand that. That's fine.
Yeah, and it has to have, in the case of the iPhone, it's actually a wire connecting it, so it has to have an interface. I think Android Auto will work over Bluetooth. I can't remember, but in any event, it's got to have some special circuitry in there to do what it's doing. It still has some capabilities minus the Android. Otherwise, it wouldn't work properly. So really, yes, it's an interface to your Android phone, but it has its own hardware as well.
Well, what I'm looking to do is have the ability to put maps and the music is. I mean, I actually bought a box from my old RAV4 that I plugged into the head unit, which allowed me to put an SD card or a jump drive into it with all my songs. I have 1,500 songs on it. And the head unit sees it as 100 CDs, each one with 100 songs.
That's an example of how kind of primitive these head units are.
Yeah, but it works. I mean,
it works. That's all that matters. It works. It's got a CD. It says, I only know about CD changers, so you, my friend, are a CD.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
You must be. What else is there in the world?
Anyway, so I'm looking at it to be able to use Waze because I'm not that fond of Google Maps. And those kind of ways, music is okay. It's got a decent system in it for speakers. It's got a subwoofer. So I think as long as I can interface to all of that. Also, I'm looking at a backup camera, and I'm thinking about putting a front camera as well.
Yeah. So Waze, this is recent. Waze wasn't for a long time available on Android Auto, but they did add that. So you don't have to just use Google Maps. They use Waze now, which is great. I like that. I don't know, though. By the way, I was just checking. You do need a USB cable to connect your phone to the Android Auto head end. It doesn't do it wirelessly.
Oh, I don't like that.
Well, you should check. I'm looking at Google's page. It may be that somebody's figured out how to do that. But it looks like, according to Google, you need a USB cable. So, yeah, it would be nice if it charged, but I don't think they charge.
Well, that kind of sucks too.
Yeah, it drains. I don't think so. Again, I don't have any experience with these, so I'll defer to somebody smarter than me. Maybe somebody will call in and explain what it's been like. But it's great that they added Waze because, honestly, that's the best way to navigate when you're driving, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. You also get You also get the ability to say "Okay, you know who," and get voice commands. Yeah, which is nice. Yeah.
Do you? You were talking about travel routers. I used the Hutu Titan.
Yeah.
For a few years.
Yeah.
In general, I like it, but when you've got a password-protected account, like most hotels, they give you a password to be able to log on to their network, which is usually pretty. I mean, it's something like. If you go to
this is
of the hotel.
I know. This is a junky system that is really not compliant with the standards for Wi-Fi. They call it captive portal.
Exactly.
And it really is a terrible system. Does the Hutu not support it?
Well, the Hutu has. I've always had trouble connecting if there's a password required to get into the system at the hotel.
Interesting.
If it's open. I stayed at a hotel just the other day where it was open.
Well, that should be easy. Yeah, that should be easy. So that is actually something, if you're going to use a travel router, you absolutely need to have it support captive portal. The way the tiny hardware firewalls work, you log into the captive portal and then it remembers that and it connects the travel router. It actually works quite well. I am sure that's the case with the new TP-Link and other travel routers. So I'm wondering if Hutu, maybe the more recent ones, have updated, because that's a non-starter, because the open Wi-Fi is rarely found anymore. That's just too dangerous. You don't even want to be on one where there's no password. So
captive portal, that may be the magic words to be able to use when I give Hutu a call.
Yes, tell them I want captive portal support. And I understand why sometimes they don't, because it's not a standard. It's not part of it's really a way of breaking Wi-Fi, but it was, it's been around ever since people have started to put open Wi-Fi access points in coffee shops. And Apple solves it in an interesting way on their iPhones. They actually have a captive portal page that it's a clumsy and ugly workaround, a kind of thing we used to call a kludge. But it gets
my nickname.
Kludge,
Mr. Yeah, actually, my nickname when I was working at Boeing was Captain Kludge, because the job that I did was I got to build. Whenever somebody would design a new unit, I got to build the first one.
Oh, that's awesome! And so that's always jerry-rigged because there's no machined parts and stuff.
Well, we would have, for instance, we would have a requirement for a beryllium chassis on a particular unit. We build it out of sheet metal. I had a sheet metal guy who was just unbelievable.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, you'd machine your own parts. You'd build your own parts. So you're confirming now what I've said for years. Kludge is pronounced kludge, not kludge. You're not Captain Kludge.
Captain, there are people who've said that, but it's Captain Kludge.
Thank you.
Kludge.
That's the word, and you got it straight from Boeing. Joe, go back to your business. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
It's my pleasure. 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. Captain Kluge. I love it. More of your calls coming up in just a bit. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. That's Leo. Somebody in the chat room is saying, can you tell us about the Nest hack? Yeah. If you have, this has always been a cause for concern among people who put cameras in their homes. I have a Nest camera right behind me, actually. You can see it right there. And if you put a camera in your bedroom, a security camera, you might reasonably say, well, I hope this is private. And you might have good reason to say that. Owners of Nest security cameras got an email from Google on Wednesday warning them to secure their login credentials and turn on two-factor identification and use stronger passwords. An Illinois family recently had its Nest camera breached by a hacker who used the microphone. They have microphones in these things to scream swear words at them in their living room. Another criminal peered into a baby's room in Texas. It isn't an issue. So this was the question in the chat room. Is this a problem with the Nest? And it isn't. It isn't. But what happens is there are people who don't use very good passwords. Or this is where you really have it happening. You use the same password on multiple sites. You ever do that? And a lot of people combine the two. So I admit, when I was a young, ignorant man in the early days of the internet, used monkey, the word monkey as a password, strike one, and use it on more than one site. Strike two, one of those sites gets breached. People know, they know my email address, they know monkey, then they try it on other sites. Strike three, I'm out. So Nest says, and I believe them, that that's what's going on here. It's not that somebody's figured out how to hack Nest cameras, but that people are reusing passwords. There have been a lot of password breaches lately. We've talked about this before. In fact, we even mentioned a really great site called HaveIBeenPwned.com. Troy Hunt's database of all the breaches. What he does is he collects every time there's a breach and the data makes its way onto the dark net. He'll buy it, download it, add it to his database, and you can search it and say, has anybody found my email address? There's actually a more useful use for it, but sometimes it scares people. There's a tab on the Have I Been Pwned site, passwords, and you can enter in a password and see if that's showing up in these databases of breaches. Let me just, out of curiosity, type in monkey. Oh no, this password has been seen 147 times before. Really, that's all? I think monkey 123 has been seen more than that. Monkey's so bad nobody uses it. Yeah, monkey 123 has been seen 60,000 times. So that just shows you monkey might be a good password again. No, don't use monkey as a password. So the message from Google is not, quick, patch your software. The good news about the Nest and honestly, any Internet of Things device, if you buy it from a reputable company, the good news is, or you should ask, but certainly look for, and the Nest is one of them, a device that is automatically updated by the company without your intervention. And Nest is. So it's not a hack on the Nest software. It's just that people reuse passwords. So please stop it. And if you have something sensitive like a camera in your house, use a unique, long, strong password. Don't reuse it. And you can do this with Nest, and certainly I have it with all my Nest cameras. Turn on two-factor. Because even then, if you do use a weak password and the guy can figure it out or it's seen in a breach, he still has to get that extra 6-digit code, that the two-factor authentication uses. But do both. Don't say, I don't have to use a good password. I can use monkey now. No, do have a good password, long, strong, totally random, used only once. And then make sure you turn on two-factor. And that's what Google's telling people. So don't worry. But this is why these data breaches are a big story. Because that means, every time there's a data breach. What's interesting? Not all data breaches make it to the dark net. The biggest data breach of all time, the Yahoo data breach, 3 billion records exfiltrated from Yahoo's servers, has never appeared anywhere. And usually that's a sign, in this case, a pretty certain sign, that the person who did the hacking wasn't, in fact, just a bad guy, but was a government. And in the case of Yahoo, it's believed to be the Chinese government. And they kept the data for themselves because they were trying to figure out information about American spies, about Chinese nationals overseas, things like that. It wasn't intended to be put out in the dark web for sale, as many breaches are. But the Yahoo breach never made it there, and that's pretty much proof positive it was the Chinese government, or it was a government, and then there's other reasons. The intelligence community believes it was the Chinese government. And at least, President Xi wants to watch you dance around in your Nest camera. He can do that unless you've changed the password. So do it. Change the password. We're crying out loud. Peter, Sharon Center, Ohio. Hello, Peter. Thanks for hanging on.
Hey, Leo.
Hey, Peter. Thank you.
Caller.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hey, I've got an ancient question for you here. You know what a Walkman audio tape cassette is?
Oh, not only do I know it, I remember buying one at Macy's for $800.
Well, I think I didn't pay that much because I've got 2 of them that still work.
Wow.
My question is, that's what, 60, 70 years old, possibly?
Oh, gosh. I bought mine, I think, in the 80s, so at least 40 years old, yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, I've got a cassette. It's my favorite one. And when I put it into the Walkman, it'll play one note, and it stops.
Does it slow down? Does it go, or does it just stop?
No. I get one musical note, period. But I can't name that tune from one note.
Oh, you're really dating yourself and me by implication. So first of all, really, cassette, really? You know what I would say?
Well, the millennials in my family laugh at me every day.
Yeah.
These things still work. I must have 100 of them. So if one went bad, that's only 1%.
But
right?
they're going to go bad. So they're going bad for 2 reasons. A couple of things are happening. First of all, the motor in that Walkman is probably worn out. Does it play other cassettes or just not that one?
Well, listen, I have other equipment. I mean, it's all old equipment that still plays. I mean, these Walkmans play other cassettes that I have. But
okay, so that's the diagnostic is, okay, it can't play that cassette, but it can play other cassettes.
Well, yeah. This particular one won't work on any machine that I have. I mean, I had it in cars.
So now we know it's the cassette that's gone bad, not the Walkman, not the player.
Right. Yeah.
So it's jammed.
Correct.
So you've had cassettes long enough to know that they get screwed up. If you first of all, get rid of those cassettes before they fall apart. There's going to be physical problems with them, but maybe even more importantly, after about 10 to 20 years, the metal oxide, you know how a cassette tape in general works. It's a plastic, usually a mylar backing, onto which are magnetic materials glued. Usually iron ferrite flakes are glued. That material gets charged, gets oriented by the head on the cassette player, and then on playback gets read. The orientation gets read, and it makes music. It's a remarkable, actually an amazing story. And if you want to read about it, read about the Ampex Corporation where they created this. Brilliant. But it's well known that what happens over time is that the magnetic material will start to flake off the mylar backing, making those cassettes unplayable. In fact, I know people, lots of people, because I work in radio, who have these old tapes and they bake them. They bake them to harden the material, knowing that after you bake it, you can play it back once and only once, and then they'll digitize it. That's what I'm suggesting you do. If you like old-timey stuff, go to Crosley. They make a device that is a cassette player that will then digitize it, and you can copy it to a hard drive, put it on a walk. Sony even makes, if you want to stick with Sony, it's not called a Walkman. I think it's called a Soundman, but they make digital players. Of course, Apple makes them. Most smartphones all smartphones will handle it. And then it'll play forever, and you can make infinite copies. And those precious audio cassettes, the music will be saved. But those cassettes, they're going to die. It's time to fix them. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Now, you can, I'm not going to recommend this, but you can repair that cassette. Probably what's happening is that
it'll only play one more time, and that's when I should take it to somebody that will
digitize it.
Put it on a compact disc or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't put it on a compact disc even these days. Those are outdated. But it is possible to recover that, possibly. Have you ever opened up a cassette?
No, I was afraid. I was afraid to see that thing all come apart. And if you ever had a ball of string and you let it get away from you, and you tried to put
just
it
like that.
Ball,
yep, I've done that. So if you disassemble them, and
I'm not going there. I let a professional do it, but I'm not messing with that.
Yeah, all right. I've done it. Better quality cassettes had little screws. You could take them very carefully, put it on a flat, take the top off, and it looks just like reel-to-reel tape, just tiny. It's how reel-to-reel tape was originally, was in this pancake form without enclosures. So you have to, obviously, you can unspool it and be very careful with it, but you can transfer that pancake to a new cassette mechanism. It's likely that cassette mechanism has gotten jammed or is just so old it's not moving freely. But the tape, if it's still good, which it won't be for much longer, but if it's still good, that tape, you could pick it up very carefully and put it on in another cassette. So it is possible to recover it, but honestly, the best thing to do would be digitize it now while you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I do know somebody that does that.
Good.
My son, he got 1,100 tapes.
Wow.
Digital guys.
Wow.
Because, my brother-in-law was a music teacher, and he had, like 6 or 8 inch tapes that he recorded with.
Well, see, that's the stuff that's really important because there's no copies of that anywhere. If it's a song by Perry Como, you can get the digital version of that easily. But if it's original material that you don't have any other copy, absolutely, now's the time to save it.
Okay, well, thank you. You give me hope.
There is hope still.
I talked to my oldest son, and he gave me a phone number on how to talk to this guy that did this work for him.
Excellent.
And I can follow up because I was at my wit's end of which direction to go.
Yeah. Well, let's save that tape. Is it unique? It's something that you only have one copy of?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's my favorite musical tape.
Yeah. Yeah. I had my wife's grandmother used to read a poem at Thanksgiving, and somebody recorded it in the 60s. And there was one cassette of it, and I was able to digitize it because you're never getting that back, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. Right.
So it's worth saving it.
All right. Well, listen, you made my day.
Good.
And that was that Kim that answered the phone?
That's the lovely and talented.
I don't know about whether you're going to be able to do any good with what I told her. But
no.
Kim, I still love her. Nevertheless,
Kim is the best.
I waited patiently, but thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
For your time.
Thank you so much. Great to talk to you, Peter. Take care.
Sure.
Yeah, this is the Walkman I bought. Remember it had that button here that you'd press and you could other people could talk to you because there was a microphone on it. So the stewardess could talk to you on the airplane. And it was very expensive. It came out in 79. I'm sure I got mine in 80, 81, really early, and it was extremely expensive. I know you can get them for $79 later. There you go. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, Sony Walkmans, all of that. 80, how to repair a cassette. 8888, ask Leo. That's the phone number, 888 827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach us. Just use Skype out or something like that. It shouldn't cost you anything. 8888 Ask Leo. The website, techguylabs.com. It's free, open to all, no sign up. And we encourage you to leave comments or suggestions. No need to yell at the radio. We give you an outlet at techguylabs.com to say, Leo, you're wrong. You're wrong. I was just taking a walk down memory lane with a chat room on my Sony Walkman, which actually came out, I didn't realize, in 1979 and was only killed in 2010. So it had a good long 31 years of use. And I think I bought one in the very first years because I'm looking at the first model. It's exactly like my original Sony Walkman from 1979. It even had that button. It looked like it was a push-to-talk button on the top. Like, oh, that's cool. Can you record? No. You push the button, it would mute the music so that somebody could talk to you because it was such a novel idea that somebody would be walking around with headphones on in those days. Nowadays, you fully expect everybody walking around to be not only listening to music, but talking to their friends and certainly not paying any attention to anything going on around them. So no need for that button anymore. But I remember that was a big deal, right? If you're on an airplane and the flight attendant wants to talk to you, you could press the orange button and you can hear him. Now, I was a little off on the price. According to Wikipedia, the original Walkman was sold for $150, which would be about $500 in today's money. It was expensive. I guess I inflated the price because I remember it was just a lot of money to pay. Boy, was it expensive. And yet, it was cool. It was cool. 8888 Ask Leo. On the line, Vidak from Sacramento. Hi, Vidak.
Hi.
Did you get the pictures I sent you?
Yes, I did. Thank you for resending them to me.
Finally, yes. Vidak was visiting our studio a few months ago. I took some pictures and had the wrong email address. Vidak?
Yeah, that was my fault. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm glad we finally got them to you. Vidak is from a native of Montenegro, so I have my lovely Montenegrin hat that you brought me. Thank you.
That is correct. I'm glad you like it.
I love it. What can we do for you today?
I have a question. I want to go back into video, so I need a recommendation for a camera that won't break my bank.
So, what kind of videos do you want to shoot?
I don't know. I'm leaving college with a degree in radio production, TV production, and film. So I have to have a camera. It's not. Yeah. It's not a negotiable.
Yeah, I actually bought my son did the same thing as a broadcast news major, and he'd used all those big heavy beta cams that they had in the college. You know, the old gear nobody carries anymore. Actually, people still do. I think part of the reason news teams carry these old Sony beta cams around is if they carried around a more reasonably sized camera that had higher quality, people wouldn't think they were professionals. Yeah. Say, that's a camcorder. You're a news guy. You should be carrying a big, heavy 35-pound camera on your shoulder.
I think we had those at the college, but they replaced them. I think I was in my first semester when they replaced them with new stuff. So.
Yeah. The camera I got him, but now I got it used, so I was able to get it for around $1,000. And if you shop around, you might be able to. Is one of the Sony EX1s. These are much smaller than beta cams, but they are very high quality HD cameras. And the EX, in general, the EX line is not only good quality, but has lots of good accessories. Now, they're new, I think, at $8,000. So that's, I'm sure, way out of your price. But again, it depends what you want to do.
Yeah, well, I was going to maybe make like YouTube videos. I don't necessarily have to have it like...
You don't need a big professional news gathering camera for YouTube videos. Frankly, I would guess most YouTube videos are shot on phones these days.
Yeah, I tried that. My iPhone 5C doesn't really have a camera to brag about anymore.
Yeah. The more modern ones do, though. So that's one thing to think about. Now, that's going to still set you back $1,000 for a new high-end feature phone, a smartphone.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's hard to do is hold those camera phones steady. You're used to a bigger camera, that camera you could put on a tripod, a camera with with zoom, for instance. And so all of those features are missing on a smartphone, and that's really going to be something you're going to miss. Yeah.
Plus, if I walk around, then I mean,
it jiggles.
Yeah, it jiggles.
Well, that was one of the things I was thinking about mentioning to you, which is the Pocket Osmo from DJI. Now,
okay. Okay.
I got one of those, and I think it's really cool. It's small. It's about the size of a camera phone, but it's a gimbal, which means it has built-in stabilization, which means you get very nice shots. It will shoot 4K video if you want at 60 frames a second. It has about 2 hours of battery life, and it's small enough that you can pocket it. I mean, it really is tiny. The lens isn't super great, but it's easily as good as any camera phone camera. So I thought the Osmo, and it's because it's so discreet. You could carry that to a museum. You can carry it almost anywhere, and nobody would blink an eye because it just doesn't look like anything at all. It's $349 list from Osmo, so that means you probably get it less if you shop around. And I thought that was quite a good little camera.
I will check them out. Are you a fan of Canon's line of DSLRs?
Yeah, well, in fact, I don't know if you noticed when you were in our studio, but that's what we use. We use...
oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, we use Canon camcorders, which you could still get, believe it or not, the Vixias. But absolutely, if you're interested in photography as well as videography...
Oh, yeah.
Getting a good camera, any camera, including a lot of less expensive cameras, will shoot. Still camera will shoot excellent video. The only limitation on some of these is most of them won't record more than half an hour at a go, and that's really more for tax reasons. Believe it or not, they don't want to be taxed as a video camera. In some countries, it's much more expensive, so they limit them in software to 30 minutes of record time. However, for most shooters, that's plenty. Nobody records a single shot for 30 minutes. That's not good.
No.
Yeah. So I would, even a point and shoot, even the Sony RX100 point and shoots would be excellent for video cameras. Plus, they have tripod threads, so you can mount them on a tripod. That's actually fairly important. That's something I would look for. It doesn't have gimbal stabilization, but most of these will have some form of optical image stabilization, even for video. I use a lot of times I'll shoot video with my Canon 5D. It's incredible video. There have been movies made on it. Or my Sony A7s. Those are excellent too. Now those are not inexpensive. I mean, the Osmo's $350. We're talking for a DSLR. We're talking probably $1,000 or more just to get started.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to revert back to the Osmo.
Yeah, the Osmo might be a lot of fun for you. I would take a look at that. It's at least a good way to start. And the image stabilization, the gimbal stabilization really is good. You know what? Stay tuned, because I sent mine off to Owen J.J. Stone, Odocta, and he's going to do a video review for us for our new show that we're doing called Hands on Tech. And that'll go up on YouTube. I'm sure there are already many DJI Osmo Pocket reviews on YouTube. Take a look at the video quality. That's what you're looking at, and see if you can live with that, because it's not as good as a DSLR. It really isn't. But it's about as good as a camera phone. So it's somewhere in between there. Nice to talk to you, Vidak. Great to hear from you. Keep up the good work, and good luck now that you're out of school. Good luck in your career. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We've got to take a little break here. We'll have more of your calls in just a little bit. Stay right here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number. Max, Boca Raton, Florida. Hello, Max.
Good afternoon, Leo.
Good afternoon.
From sunny Boca Raton, Florida.
Beautiful. The home of the IBM PC.
You got it. I used to call you when I was in Milpitas, California.
Oh, yeah.
But I left about a year and a half ago, and I've been really happy here. The weather is nice.
Yeah.
We're good.
You should come and visit.
I will.
If you like it.
I will, and thanks for taking us with you.
Absolutely. So, Leo, here's the situation that I know that I ran into last night, which freaked me out at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I want to give you an overview of the setup I have. I have a TV, which is Vizio 75-inch P-Series. And to it, there's an Xfinity set-up box connected via HDMI and hardwired to Nighthawk R8000 router.
Okay.
The router is up to date, very secure password.
Good.
TV is up to date, and I already opt out of from collecting information about what I'm watching and all that.
Okay, good.
So I think I have a good setup here.
Yes.
Last night around 3 o'clock in the morning, I got up to go get a water because I was thirsty. When I returned back to bed, falling asleep, I heard a conversation in the living room.
Yikes!
It freaked me out.
Yeah.
Freaked me out, yeah. So I came into the living room, and I'm looking at the TV. The TV screen is off, but the speakers are apparently on because the conversation is coming.
Oh, you're hearing TV audio.
Yes. So I'm looking at it, and I'm saying, what's going on over here? And I used the power button, turn off the TV, and the sound went away. Apparently, it was somehow came on, but
now, let me ask you a question. Is the sound for your TV, does it come through the TV's speakers?
Yes.
Because I've had this happen to me many, many times. I will wake up in the middle of the night, and I'll hear voices coming from the living room, and I'll go, at first time I heard it, I thought, what the heck? But from now on, I go, oh, shoot, and I have to get up. Because we have a setup where the TV audio is separate from the television. It goes through an AV receiver and it plays through speakers. And if the AV receiver is still on, sometimes the TV sound will come on even if the TV's not on. So that I'm used to. But yours is a separate case because your TV speakers are separate.
Exactly. I do not have any sound bar. I don't have any AV receiver. I get the sound right through the TV speakers.
Well, what kind of TV is it?
It's a Vizio P-Series, 75.
Oh, very nice TV, P-Series.
Yeah,
so remember, modern TVs don't actually ever turn off. They go into a low power mode, but they are always on. And in fact, you've probably seen your TV turn itself on. If, for instance, you have a Roku or an Apple TV connected to it and you press the button on the Roku, the TV will turn on automatically. That's due to something called CEC.
Right.
Consumer Electronics Control. Sometimes Sony has a different name for it and different companies have different names for it. So, and that's because the TV really is paying attention. And what woke it up was a signal from an HDMI connector. Do you have external devices connected to the HDMI ports?
No, Leo. The only connection is this Xfinity setup box to the HDMI. That's it.
I think that's what turned it on then. It's connected, the Xfinity cable box is connected via HDMI, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. I would bet that what happened was, for reasons we don't know, maybe it got a stray signal, maybe it saw you walking around, the X1 box turned on the audio but didn't turn off the TV. So there's a couple of ways you can prevent this from happening. One is to put that Vizio in eco mode, ECO, which is a low power mode. It's actually turning off instead of just going into low power. So eco mode will help. Turn off also any CEC. I'm not sure what Vizio calls its CEC. Now, that's an inconvenience because when you disable it, it means that you'll have to turn on the TV manually with a remote when you want to watch something from your well, I guess you have everything in the TV. It's a smart TV.
Right.
So you don't need CEC unless you want it to turn on automatically when you turn on the cable box. So look which
I do actually.
Yeah.
Which I do actually. The setup box remote is programmed with the video.
Yeah, that's what happened. Is it turned it on, but it didn't turn on the screen. So you can disable it, but it's kind of it's going to be at an inconvenience to you. If it happens a lot, I would. So those are the two things I would try, which is turn off eco mode. I mean, turn on eco mode. You want it the lowest power possible. So when you turn it off, it's really off. And then you might look and see if you have CEC settings turned on. You could turn those off as well. The question is, somebody's saying audio is always coming out of the RCA plugs on the Xfinity X1 box. So if those are connected, you'll hear audio even if the TV's off. Oh. So that's that makes sense. So the sound was coming from your TV speakers, but it was being generated by the X1 box. So even if the screen is off, you're going to still hear the sound. That's exactly what happened. At least those two settings would be two to look at, but I would look in the TV settings for other things similar to that. Eco mode will certainly do it. So ARC is actually a little bit different. ARC is the audio return channel, and that is designed to send audio out of the TV via the HDMI cable into an AV receiver. So you use the ARC for if you've got a smart TV that's generating audio, like Netflix on your TV. In order to get the audio into the AV receiver, you have to use the ARC HDMI port. And, of course, your receiver has to support ARC. So that's different. It doesn't kill a port because you use it in both directions. So most TVs will have it on HDMI 2. It'll be labeled ARC. You use a standard HDMI cable. That's the one I have connected from my AV receiver to the TV. So that's the TV in. But if I watch Netflix from the TV, remember that's the whole idea, is the audio's coming from the TV. Because my receiver understands it might be getting audio returned on that HDMI port, it'll automatically route that to the speakers. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Chris in Lakewood, California. Thanks for hanging on, Chris. Welcome.
Yeah, Leo, I have a question.
Yes.
I work online all day on my PC, and I work on Word documents and PDF files. I'm a professional proofreader.
Neat.
And
do you find it easier to proofread on a screen or on paper?
Oh, I do it on screen.
See, I think it would be easier on paper, but maybe not.
No.
No?
Yeah, my clients send me the work.
Right, so you're not going to print it out just to proofread it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And what my question is, I want to transfer everything over to my Microsoft Surface so I can work on my book.
Okay.
My Surface.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Do you know how to do that?
It's on a desktop PC, and you want to transfer it over to a Surface PC.
Exactly. A Surface.
Is this something you're going to do all the time, or you just want to do once?
Oh, all the time. That way.
Here's what I would suggest. If you only do it once or twice, I mean, there's a dozen ways to do this. You could set up a network share. You could use a USB key or a USB drive. But if you're going to do it all the time, I would use, because you already have it, Microsoft's OneDrive, which is their cloud storage solution. And when you turn OneDrive on your PC and on your Surface device, you'll make a OneDrive folder. It'll be in your home folder. And what I would suggest is put all the documents that you want to proofread, all the documents you're working on, in that OneDrive folder. That'll mean it's accessible on the PC, but also accessible on the Surface. Furthermore, any changes you make or notes you make in those documents will be saved to that single, folder, and they'll automatically get synchronized over to the other computer. So I think the best way to do it in your case, something you're going to do all the time, you want to work on documents in multiple locations, is to use OneDrive. There's even more sophisticated ways to do this. I don't think you need to set it up. I do. I have many, as you might imagine, different computers, Mac, PC, and Linux. And for a hobby, one of the things I like to do is write software. But the problem is I don't always do it on the same computer. Sometimes I'll be at my desk. Sometimes I'll be at work. Sometimes I'll be at home in the living room. And so I want that project that I'm working on to be available everywhere. This is something that happens so often in programming that there are a number of ways to do this in the programming world. They call them repositories or version control systems. That's the old name of it, version control systems. And the most popular, most widely used one is called Git, G-I-T. It was created by the guy who did Linux, Linus Torvalds, some years ago, to keep track of all the code in Linux. So I use Git, and what I do is I synchronize. When I sit down at my desktop, I will synchronize. I'll do a Git command that pulls in any changes made elsewhere. And when I finish my project on the desktop, I'll then push those changes back up, and that way they're available to everybody else. It's a really nice way for multiple users or even a single user to work on a project and make sure that project stays synchronized. It's a little bit more complicated, but it's been made easier and easier. As you know, Microsoft recently bought a service called GitHub, which is very popular with programmers. And I know a number of novelists and other writers who use Git and GitHub to keep track of their writing, even if they're not working with anybody else, because it allows them to use multiple computers, and it has an additional advantage. You can keep multiple versions of the same file. So if you want to try something, for instance, in your novel, you can create a new branch and put all the things you're trying there. And if it doesn't work out, no harm, no foul. If you like it, then you can commit the branch to the main repository. It's kind of a more sophisticated way of working. But if you do this a lot, it might be something worth investigating. Then you wouldn't be limited just to your desktop and your Surface. You could do it anywhere. But OneDrive will have that advantage too. OneDrive is kind of a simpler way of working. Probably the easiest way to do it. And you already have it, as all Windows users do. Marion, Prescott, Arizona. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Marion.
Hi, Leo. Love your show.
Oh, thank you for listening.
The 8-note.
Yep.
And I've just within the last week or so, I've been getting these very loud pop-up ads while they pop up in the middle of texting. They stop me from texting.
Ugh.
And then even if it's just sitting on the table and I'm not doing anything with it at all, they're popping up really loud. So if I go someplace and I can't have loud things happening in my purse or whatever, I have to turn all the sounds off.
Yeah, well, it's worse than that. I mean, you don't want those pop-ups at all. That means somebody's installed something malicious on your Android device. This is not good. You don't want this, not just because it's loud. So,
how do I get rid of it?
You got to figure out where it's coming from. It's only when you're texting, or is it?
No. It can
other
be
times
on the table and pop up when I'm not doing anything with it at all.
So it doesn't matter what program you're using. It's not a browser. It could be any program. It just pops up.
Right.
Yeah. So you're getting, you probably installed something which is doing it. And the problem is you don't know what. So the first thing to do is go through your apps, your installed apps. You know, you open the Google Play Store and there's a section there, My Apps. And look at the apps you've got installed and make sure you need everything that's on there. If there's any doubt, uninstall it. And eventually, I suspect you'll find the one. It's not going to be a mainstream program. It's not going to be Microsoft Word or Google Maps. It's going to be something like, Russian hacker wallpaper. Get all 50, something like that. It's unfortunate, but this is almost a virus, but not quite. I think if Google knew about it, they'd probably block it. But the key is...
Some of them are Facebook, and some of them are shopping, and they're just all different.
So the guy who wrote this, this is how it works. Some guy wrote this. He said, I'm going to make some money from naive Americans. I'm going to make app that's really cool, that does something that people will download. They'll download it. It might even do that. But at the same time, behind the scenes, it installs little software that will pop up ads. And every time you see that ad, he makes a penny. So he's making money by forcing you to look at ads, but also it's malicious, and I would definitely figure out what app it's coming from.
Okay, if I clear my cache, does that mess up my passwords as well, or can I clear and try to get rid of things with clearing my cache?
You can, but if you install the app, that won't get rid of the app. It'll stay there. So you really have to figure out what the app is. It could be, the problem with Android is there are a lot of kind of, the legal term of art is attractive nuisances. There are a lot of attractive nuisances in the Android Play Store. Apps that look like they'd be kind of cool, but they...
Yeah, if I uninstall the app that installed it, it doesn't stay on my...
No, it'll go away.
it will go away.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just go through the most recent apps you installed and go back to when it started happening. One of those is doing it. And if that doesn't get rid of it, and maybe you have something more serious, because it is possible to create an app that installs this even if the app is deleted. Most of the time they don't do that. But if it doesn't go away, if you've deleted all the apps that you don't need and it's still there, yeah, you might want to reset the phone. That's more than deleting the cache. That's deleting everything. It's the factory data reset.
All my passwords. I have to figure out all my passwords again.
Oy.
Yeah.
Oh. Go get LastPass or 1Password. Get a password manager. That way this won't happen again.
Oh, okay. My husband's working on that, but he's trying to get all the kinks out of it before we get fully involved.
Yeah, this is the real advantage. Yeah. So your passwords are stored in the phone in the browser? Where are they stored? It just remembers them. Yeah, so if you deleted a program and had to reinstall it, you wouldn't know what your password was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can clear the cache without deleting passwords, but let's not take a chance. And certainly resetting the phone will. But Google will back up passwords if you're storing it in Chrome. So it may be that those passwords are being backed up by Google. Nevertheless, let's get those malware programs off. Hey, we're doing our Twit survey. I want to remind everybody this is your chance to weigh in and let us know what you think of Twit. We'd like to know a little bit about you. You'd like to know a little bit about us. And at the end, the last question says, what programs would you like to see more of on Twit? We do this survey once a year. It helps us understand who's listening, who's watching. It also helps us, I'll be frank, sell ads, but not because we're collecting individual data about you. We never do. We don't. This survey doesn't do that either. But in aggregate, we like to know how many men, how many women, what education level, that kind of thing. And that advertisers always want to know more. So we don't want to collect any more information or any information about you individually. We're not Facebook. But the survey does help us with advertisers and tailor our programming to fit your needs. So here's how you take it. Easy enough. You go to twit.to/survey19. twit.to/survey19. We do this once a year just to get to know you a little bit better, and it really does help us. So thanks in advance. Not required, but we appreciate it. twit.to/survey19. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, wrapping up our show for the week. My goodness. Thanks, as always, to Big Pee-wee, our musical director, always spinning the discs. And to, of course, the wonderful, the one and only phone angel, Kim Schaffer, for answering your calls. And I couldn't do it without you, so thank you for listening and calling. Jonathan in Georgia. Hello, Jonathan.
Hey, Leo.
You wanted to respond to the guy who has a 10-year-old Dell XPS and he can't play games.
Yes. I have a Core Dual 2 Dell.
Yeah.
Or had one, and it had PCI Express slot in it.
Oh, good. And it was about that age?
Yeah, they're actually older.
Older. Oh, good. All right. See, my memory's not great, so PCI Express has been around a little bit longer. Good.
Yeah, the PCI, only thing you need to be sure, he has a 16 slot. A 16 slot PCI, it has a little notch on the end.
That's it, the notch, right. So that's the one that most video cards these days use.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, unlike PCI Express, the little notch in the center row where the teeth are is on the left side, not the right side.
Excellent. Excellent. So make sure you have that particular kind of PCI slot if you're going to use anything invented in the last 5 years, probably.
You might need a BIOS update.
Oh.
Some newer video cards require a BIOS update to make the motherboard compatible.
Oh, that's interesting. Boy, it is a little bit of a complication. I would just get a new computer, wouldn't you?
Well, I would think of a 750 Ti would probably work on his system.
That's one of the older NVIDIA cards, yeah.
They still sell them.
All right.
$100 now, so.
It's worth a try. Hey, Jonathan, great tip. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
I really appreciate it. You too. Have a great day. See, this is not nary a question we can't answer sooner or later, thanks to our great audience. Thank you. I appreciate it. Between me, the chat room, our listeners, really, I've always thought of this as a kind of a user group of the airwaves. chance for us to help each other. I'm not the expert. I'm just the facilitator. I have a feeling this is the last call of the day. Let's see. Henry, Prescott Valley, Arizona. Hello, Henry.
How you doing, Leo?
I am great. How are you?
Well, I woke up on the right side of the dirt this morning, so I guess I'm okay.
I never thought of it quite that way. All right. Okay.
I have a question about use of the Amazon devices that begin with an E. I've got a couple of the views, and I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to turn on and off my overhead lights in my office.
Absolutely. I do it all the time. But it requires smart home enabled lights that are designed to work with Echo. So the ones I use are the Philips Hue lights. But in fact, there are quite a few brands that work with Amazon's Echo. And the way it will work is you'll use the Echo software. It's called the A word, but I don't want to say that out loud. I don't want to trigger people's echoes. But use the A word, the A word software on your phone. It will go out and look at you have to be on the same Wi-Fi network. In the case of the Hue lights, they have a base station. That has to be on the same Wi-Fi network as your Echoes. They'll go out. Actually, I think you can do it without the phone. I think you can ask the Echo to look for smart devices, and it'll find them. You can name them. I would name them in the Hue app. So I, for instance, have a light called Living Room, and I have lights in my den. And I can say, Echo, I can say lots of things. I could say, Echo, turn on the den lights, turn off the den lights, but I could say, set the den lights to red. I could say, in fact, I do this all the time because it's in our TV room. So I say, Echo, dim the lights to 20%. It's really a handy thing. So these Hue lights are multicolored lights, but there are other Echo enabled lights that will work that are cheaper because they're they're white. They're not colored.
Okay. Are the Hue lights LED?
They are.
Okay, good, because we've got LED throughout the house, and that's.
I'm gonna go even a step further, because you can also get smart switches. So if you didn't want to get smart lights, you can get a Echo-enabled smart switch. There are a number of companies that make these, and you can just turn the switch on and off with your voice.
Great.
Isn't that cool? Lutron makes them. I think Lutrons are widely agreed to be the best. They're a little bit pricier, but they're, if you go to Amazon's site, there is a whole list of, they call it works with the A word, works with A word devices. From Wemo, TP-Link, Jerry Martin, GE, Leviton, Lutron. That's just the L's. Hue's in there, too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how we have to talk in code to keep from activating these?
Well, I've learned my lesson, frankly, because I used to say all those words out loud. And so what we've come up with on our podcast is code names. We call the Amazon Echo Alyosha. We call the Apple Assistant Shlomo. we call, what do we call the Google Home Assistant? I've forgotten now. Giorgio or something like that. Hey Giorgio. And there's even one for Cortana, although not many people have Cortanas that are listening. But I'm
a Mac guy, so I don't worry about it.
Yeah, but you have to worry about SIRI, right?
Right.
Yeah. At this point, this is an interesting question: is who is the best at home automation? And while Apple and Amazon and Google are all in competition, and Google even makes its own hardware, Apple's got that HomePod, I guess. I think Echo is really the leader here, and almost every device out there will work with an Echo.
I would agree with you. We've got about 4 of them spread throughout the house.
Oh,
so
nice.
We can do just about anything we want to do around here.
Yeah. The one issue, and Dr. Mom's reminding me of this, there's 2 issues. I've had Hue lights for, like 7 years. The first thing, and they fixed this, by the way, the first thing I found out with the Hue lights is if you turn them off by voice, like I'm going to bed, I say, Echo, turn off the lights. It's nice. If there's a power outage, in the early days of the Hue lights, they came on full bright. in the middle of the night, and I'll never forget jumping up out of bed and running around like crazy trying to find my phone to turn off the lights. Fortunately, my wife said, "Oh, just turn the switch off, you nitwit," and that does still work. But that is another issue that's maybe a more significant issue if you have other people in the house. You have to remember not to use the switches once you start using the voice-enabled lights, because if you turn the switch off, they won't do anything. They're not getting any power.
Okay.
So that's something
Great,
to keep
I'll
in mind.
remember that.
Yeah. It's a convenience. It's a lot of fun. I have friends. I have one friend in particular. She's moving now. Stacy Higginbotham lives in Austin. She's moving to Seattle, and she's putting her house up for sale, and she's listing it as a smart house, but she realized her house is so crazy complicated, she'd have to write a 30-page manual for the new owners. So she's taking out most of the smarts and just leaving the basic Wemo stuff, because she figures, they'll figure out how to use that. But the rest of the stuff, it's too complicated. And that's the real problem. There's a spousal acceptance problem, which is, once you get your house too smart, then nobody else can use it.
That's true.
You may know about that already. Hey, it's great to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
Thanks for calling, Henry. Thanks to all of you for joining me. I have so much fun doing this show. I hope you enjoy listening. And if you do, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, come back to our podcast network, twit.tv, and come back next week. I'll see you then. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.